yourself.
I am Nena Walker, owner of Nena's Organics. We are a plant-powered skincare line, wellness line, beauty line, located in the historical Baldwin Crenshaw Mall.
So, Nina, today we invited you to give us some insight on your experience with co living. So, my first question for you, given that we're talking about co living after divorce, what led you to choose co living and how did you first discover it?
Well, I stumbled upon it actually. Uh, we were in I guess, the middle, I believe it was the middle of the pandemic, and it was very difficult to find a place to live. And I was not about to continue to try to uh, find a place, which was a huge challenge. I didn't want to go the hotel route. And a few friends were willing to let me couch surf, if you will. But
Mhm.
I had to, some of them didn't believe in the COVID vaccine. I had to have it to go out and make money because I was selling my products at farmers markets. So I reached out to a girlfriend that knew me well um, through a group called Black Girls Run. And I asked her if she had any rooms available. She said, yes, sure. So she says, I have a bigger room than the one you had previously because I lived with her previously while waiting for an apartment to become available when I was married.
Mm.
And so going back, um, at least I knew her. I knew how she ran her household. I knew her personality, what her rules were. I knew what all that was about. So I was more comfortable going back. So I did.
Okay. How many people were there?
When I went back, it was me, and I think uh, there was a guy there, and there were two other females in the other two rooms.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They're a
So,
pretty big house.
hmm, wow. What were your biggest fears or your concerns before you decided to join that co-living space?
My business, how was I going to still produce my products or create my products?
Hmm.
And um, I did ask her, I said, well, can I bring my products with me? It's almost like, can you bring your children with you? And so
Right, right,
she was open
right.
to it because she knew who I was, what I do. And then I've invited her to share my space with me when I was out in the farmers market. I was doing farmers markets. I would take her with me.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So, because she also was a creator of her own products. She made
Mm,
soap. So it worked. So she afforded me that. And to move everything there and then have to move it or to move it to storage, it just made sense to move it there, which is what I did.
got it. Okay. So you got with her. You were running a business. You were also just coming out of a divorce. Did that co-living experience help you with that new transition and um, going from um, living with your spouse to now living with her and a group of other people while you were going through an emotional time? How did the co-living help you cope with the emotional state that you may have been at that time?
The biggest challenge was sleeping alone. So I've learned to sleep diagonally in the bed and I don't feel like I'm missing a body. I mean,
Okay.
although sometimes you do miss the body, um, but in the evening when I would first get home, she would be in the living room fireplace would be lit, TV would
Oh,
be on. She had food, so I would go in the kitchen because usually I would bring something home, or sometimes she would cook and she would say, "Hey, you want to join me?" So we get food, we would sit in front of the TV, we'd watch this show. She got me into the show, and I'm trying to think of the name of it, but I can't. But anyway, we were addicted to this show. So it
okay.
got to the point where we wouldn't watch the episodes unless we were together. That way we could talk about it. So sitting in her living room, and then some of the other women that were in the space, they would come in, they would join in for a little while, and then they'd
Mhm.
leave, which was okay. But I really enjoyed that. It made me not feel as um, lonely, if you will.
Mhm.
I do
Mhm.
enjoy my alone time, but every
Mhm.
now and again I would like to talk to someone, when I get in a space where I want to relax. So she provided that, and we got along very well.
Okay. So, because, one thing that we talk about when we talk about co-living is the fact that there's a loneliness epidemic.
Yes.
So having, that space where you have folks that you can, just conversate with, talk less of, having a companion to go out and enjoy life with. I think co-living is a really good opportunity for folks to be engaged at their own pace. You know, was the homeowner uh, working, or what was the dynamic in the space in terms of where everyone was from a working or retirement, or what was the dynamic like among your co-living mates from an
Everyone
engagement?
everyone was working. I was the only
Mhm.
one that was retired, but still working.
Oh,
And
okay.
um, most of them would go to bed early. Sometimes she would stay up late, only
Hmm.
for us to wind up getting up at 4:30 because we were running with the group, like I said, called Black Girls Run, where
Oh,
we
yeah.
leave pavement at 5 a.m. and knock out anywhere from 3 to 10 miles.
Hmm.
So oftentimes though, when she was up late, she wouldn't make the 4:30 rise time, which was cool, but I would get up. Um, because I wanted to kind of it would help me relax throughout the day. It would help me not be stressed out about things that were going on in my day. It would help
Hmm.
to not focus on the end of my marriage, which was a good thing that it ended, but it afforded me the opportunity not to focus on that and not to stress out about it. And the fact
I
that
see.
she was open and friendly and willing to do things, together. Like I said, she was a creative like I was. She made soap.
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
sometimes we would go shopping together to buy different things that we needed for our respective businesses. Sometimes we would go out for dinner together. Sometimes I would make dinner. By the time she got home from work, dinner was ready. She would eat. Some of the other roommates, they would come in, they would eat. And then she managed all of that. Her only rule that I can see was the second time that I went back, she didn't want people coming in and out of the house, just random
Mm.
people. Like you don't have
Oh, I
parties,
see.
what have you. And I was okay
Hmm.
with that because I'm not that person.
Hmm. What were some of the other house rules?
Everybody had a day that they could wash, a day and a window that they could wash. So
Hmm.
hers, for example, was Monday between,
Hmm.
I'm sorry, hers was Saturday between 8 a.m. and I want to say 2 p.m.
Okay.
And mine was
Mm-hmm.
Monday between noon and 4 p.m. But nobody was there.
Okay.
So it worked for
Oh,
me.
yeah. So you could do all the laundry you wanted to
Yeah.
in that period. What was the parking situation like? And then what was the utility? How was that? Was that included in your cost, or how was that structured from a financial perspective?
So you paid your rent, and then the utilities were divided by the number of people that were living in the house. So at that time, it was divided by five.
Okay.
There were five of us. It was a seven-bedroom house, and there were five of us in the house. So we
Wow,
just
that's a
divided
large
it.
house.
Say again?
That's a very large structure.
Yeah. And she still has it today. We thought she
Wow.
lost it, but she still has it, or
Mhm.
she got it back.
That's wonderful. What was parking like? Were there any challenges with parking?
No, it was street parking. Thank goodness it was a house and there weren't a lot of people that had visitors. Most of the people that lived there parked in their driveways or in their garages. So there was
Mhm.
ample street parking.
Mhm. Wonderful. Okay. So it gave you a sense of belonging and a sense of connection. What lessons did you learn, while you were there, if any,
I
about
learned
or things about yourself? What did you discover about yourself, and then just with interacting with other people?
I learned that I don't share a bathroom with more than one woman very well
Okay.
because they will leave hair in the sink. They'll leave they'll leave their sanitary products on the side of the toilet after they've been used. They were wrapped in some tissue. They would leave their shoes, their underwear. Mm-mm, I'm not that person. Please don't do that. That is very
So
tacky. They would
how
leave
did you
water all over the sink.
how did you navigate that? How did you um, solve that issue?
Well, I would tell her,
Mm,
and she would go back to them and she would circulate a memo and tell everybody, look, you can't do this. You've got to clean up behind yourself. How would you feel if
mhm,
someone left the bathroom, sorted or tossed up about and you were trying to
mhm,
use it?
mhm.
So people got the hint. And then when sometimes they would use the toilet and they would leave these skid marks in the toilet. Get the bowl brush and just
God, stop. Stop.
those, those are the little things that really, really bother. But that was it.
Wow. Um, any other major challenges? Like, so you were co-living in Los Angeles. Were there any like natural disasters or anything that, was kind of unexpected, that you all had to rely on each other for?
Well, the main thing is that we were in the middle of the pandemic, and there was one girl that was there. She was different, and she was guarded and not very communicative, difficult to get to know. And I just finally just said it one day. I said, "Good morning," and she didn't say anything. And I said it again, "Good morning," with more bass in my voice. She still didn't respond. And I said, "Look, I don't want to sleep with you. I don't want to move in. I don't want to borrow any money. All I'm doing is speaking. That's it. If that's a problem for you, I don't have to."
Mhm.
Oh my gosh, were you speaking to me? First of all, Heifer, ain't nobody in this room, in this kitchen, but me and you.
Stop it. Stop.
Who else do you think I'm talking to? I said, but you know what? Don't even worry about it. So she went to the lady whose house it was and she complained about me.
Hmm.
When the lady brought it to me, she came to me laughing hysterically because she knows who I am and she knows that girl. She said, "Girl, don't let her get under your skin. She's different." She says, "Just don't speak to her anymore." I said, "Bet."
Nina, did you comply with that, or did you try again?
I no longer casted my pearls among swine. I didn't speak to that heifer no more.
Oh
And
my
then
God.
I went to another Black Girls Run event And who do you think was there but her?
Mm.
So everybody, we met in the morning, we did the stretching, and we were getting ready to hit the pavement. I took off. She had the nerve to try to run up beside me and try to have a conversation. I just fell back and I went around her and caught up with some other girls. I don't want to talk to you now, Heifer. We good. We ain't got to talk
So,
no more.
did you, how long were you guys living there after that
Incident.
inability to communicate? Yeah.
I lived there, I want to say a total of 9 months.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And then she got a place, thank you, Jesus. And she left.
All right. Wow. Any recommendations or suggestions for someone who is looking to become a co-living housing provider, in terms of, structuring the process, screening tenants, handling difficult situations? Any recommendations for the provider? Because there are quite a few folks who want to get into that space. They no longer want to just rent out the whole house. They want to give becoming a co-living provider a chance. So, what would you recommend?
I recommend doing what this particular young lady did. It's good to have what they call house rules. The rent is due on this day. The utilities are being divided by the number of people in the space.
Hmm.
Um, Whether you are there or there living or spending time with someone else, your significant other, um, I think that you are still responsible for that. And I think that needs to be stressed that as long as your property is in the space, you are to be held liable for your portion of utilities. There was a
Hmm.
young lady that who resided there. She spent a great deal of time at her boyfriend's house. When the utility bills would come, she would not want to, she would question, well, I wasn't here that much. I was only here, what, 2 weeks, so I shouldn't be forced to pay the entire month.
Hmm.
Well, I heard her speaking to the owner of the house, and the owner of the house just said, look, as long as your things are here, you're here. You're taking up space. If you're going to be living with your boyfriend, by all means, you're welcome to go. Take your things,
Hmm.
and the room will be available for someone else. So make it clear and plain in your house rules that you are, as long as your property is here, you are liable for your portion of overhead expenses or
Hmm.
operating expenses. I
Hmm.
like the rules that she had for the wash day, although there were some days where some of the ladies were off on Monday and they decided because they didn't see anybody washing, they were going to jump in between, noon and 4. I said, hold on, swallow on. What we not going to do is disrespect my day. Now,
Hmm.
I've got laundry to do and I do plan on doing that. She said, well, it's 12:15 and you haven't even started. But my block of time is from noon to 4. And it is on the schedule. And she posted a schedule
Hmm.
by your name, by the day of the week, and who could wash within a certain block. So I said,
Hmm.
she says, well, you could take my day. I said, I don't want your day. I want today.
Hmm.
And so she already had her clothes in the washing machine and then had the nerve to leave them in there. So when you leave your stuff in the washing machine and you haven't removed it, and it's my day and my time, I'm gonna take your stuff and just put it in your little basket and I'm gonna start my wash. She said, well, you could have put them in the dryer. I said, that would require me, I would be considered your maid because I'm washing your laundry. We're not gonna do that, sweetie. You washed out of turn anyway. You could have put them in the dryer and started it. What do I look like? Boo Boo the Fool? So anyway, uh, of course, she ran back and told the lady, and the lady sided with me. The owner
Hmm.
of the home sided with me. I did not care because I knew, so I knew I was right. And that was
Hmm.
the most important thing for me, operating by the rules. The rules
Hmm.
are there for a reason because somebody tried to violate something. And
Hmm.
so I operate within whatever those restrictions are.
Mm-hmm.
So I did not feel bad about putting her clothes back in her little basket, wet, because they were not mine. So I think that having the rules is definitely key. Uh, if you do have a space where you have a big driveway and multiple parking options on your property, make it clear that it's first come, first serve, or whatever. Consider that as well, because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I would pull in the driveway when I would unload, and uh, for the nurses that worked, she had a couple of nurses that were living there. For the
Mm-hmm.
nurses that worked, say, the night shift. And so sometimes she would have days that you could park in the driveway because it was a long driveway. She had driveways on two sides of the street because it was a corner.
Mm-hmm.
And because the nurses were getting, they worked 12 hours and they were getting off really early in the morning, even if it was my day to park, I would still park on the street out of respect for them. But that's me.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody doesn't do things the way I do. But I would
Mm-hmm.
pull in on my days and I would unload my groceries, take them in and put them in the refrigerator. A couple times I had some of my things disappear. And she even had rules for that.
Okay.
Don't drink anybody's, whatever it is, you know what you bought. If you drink it, if you use it, replace it immediately. Do not wait and let the other person know. And she had
Mm-hmm.
two big um, refrigerators. So there was room for everybody's food. If you cook
Okay.
and other people wanted to join in, she said, be courteous and consider them and make a donation for what you've eaten.
Mm-hmm.
Go out and get a meal. Back then, I think dinner was something like $15. If you went to a restaurant, she says, leave them 15, $20 if you're
Mm-hmm.
going to eat whatever it is we prepared.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we did. And she had an envelope up there for that, where you would put your name
Wow.
down, day of the week. So those kinds of rules, I think, are important to have. And to
Mm-hmm.
go over, she goes over them when you sign the rental agreement.
I see. And how was that structured? Like, what kind of notice did you guys have to give, or what length of lease did you have?
For typically it was a year, but mine was month to month
I
because
see.
she knew that I was looking for a place. I told her that going in. So
Mm-hmm.
my rental agreement was month to month.
Got it. Okay. And you said you were there 9 months.
Yes,
Why was 9 months the magic number?
because we were in the middle of the pandemic and I wasn't able to find a place until then.
I see. I see. So you were there post divorce. Would you recommend co-living for someone who has gone through some type of transition in life? Could be divorce or some other life occurrence. Would you recommend it, and what would you recommend to the individual? We've talked about the provider, but what would you recommend to a potential co-living mate thinking of going into co-living after a major life occurrence?
I recommend it because you can go to a shelter, but there's the quality of life is definitely not going to be what it is when you're living in a co-living situation. I
Mm-hmm.
do highly recommend it. It is a better option as opposed to going to a shelter or paying a large sum of money for a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
definitely wholeheartedly recommend it.
Okay. Um, what would you say, so what was the age mix of you and your co-living mates? Was it a, large, was everyone over 40 or?
No,
Oh,
there were
wow.
girls that were there that were, I think, 28. There were two girls that were younger. There
Mm-hmm.
was a guy there. He was in his 40s. And I was the oldest person there. And most of them thought I was in my 40s, which I'm definitely not. But um, uh most of there was a mixture. The youngest one, like I say, was 28. So may as well say 30. 30 was the youngest age that was there. And they were
Okay.
the ones that were the most irresponsible
Mm,
and questionable
mm,
and just some just some petty shenanigans. Like, you get into it with your significant other, you guys have a fight right there, and
mm,
the owner of the house would go down and say, I don't care what you're beefing about, do not tear up my house. If you want to fight, take it outside. We don't do that in here.
mm-hmm.
She would close the
So on
door.
that, I'm sorry.
She would close the door and the guy would leave.
How was common areas kind of structured? Um, how did you guys balance out sharing common areas? Was there like an entertainment room or a living room outside of the kitchen and bathrooms? How were just the
It was
kind of
open. You would come in, you would sit down if you wanted to watch TV there. If you had a TV in your room, of course you would do that. But
Mhm.
um, I almost remember the name of the show that she got me into, but I keep on. I can't remember. I can remember characters, but can't remember the name of the show. But you were
Mhm.
welcome to join in. There were a couple times where I came in and several people would be in the living area. And if there was an open space, you just sat down and you got comfortable.
Okay.
And that's where you would watch it. But at the end, people would bring in their drinks, whatever it was they were drinking, their water, soda, whatever, and they would just get up and leave. She said, no, 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 no. This ain't your mama's house. Come back, clean up behind yourself, put the dishes, rinse them at a minimum, and put them in the sink, or you can put them in the dishwasher. And when it's full, I'll start it. So we had quite a bit of that kind of thing. But there were
Mhm.
no rules necessarily other than basic common sense rules. Clean up behind yourself. I
Mhm.
should not have to walk through the house and pick up forks, spoons, uh, styrofoam, paper plates. If you used it, toss it. And she didn't allow the trash to be in the house overnight.
Mhm.
So she said, if the trash can is full, you're the last one to put a plate in there, take the bag out and put it in the garbage can outside.
Mhm.
She didn't have cameras in the house, though.
Okay.
She had cameras outside the house, but not in the house.
Mhm. Do you think the house would have ran as smoothly given the mix of co-living mates without the property owner living there?
No, I think there would have been some other challenges, especially for the younger people, because they were
Hmm.
the ones with the biggest issues. They were the most irresponsible, careless, that were leaving, their dirty underwear, in on the floor in the bathroom. So I started using the other bathroom because they were just too untidy for me.
Hmm.
So I don't think it would have been as smooth. I'm sorry, let me take that back. I think it would have been just as smooth had we have had a more mature age group.
I
Say if
see.
everybody was 40 and up, I think it would have been a better living situation.
Hmm. And was everyone, so you said there were house rules. Were you given those house rules at the time that you signed the lease? And was there conversation with the provider at that time? Or how was that?
Well, you were given them when you signed the lease, and then there was a conversation.
Hmm.
She reviewed the rules and she asked, do you understand these rules?
Hmm.
And then she would ask, do you understand why we have the rules? And of course, they would say yes, but they were there when I got there.
Hmm.
So she asked me those questions. She would say to me, I know I don't have to ask you this, but do you understand the rules? Yes. Are you willing to abide by the rules? Yes.
Hmm.
Okay. Sign an initial, and I did that. Gave her my money, and she says, "Okay, you can move in."
Did any of the rules breaking any of the rules, did they, if you broke any of them, was there a financial obligation or anything? Like, how was she um, able to enforce the rules?
She would just tell them, replace whatever it was you took. For example, people would, I like sparkling water, and some of the other younger girls, they liked it too. They saw it in there, they took it. Like, so did you buy this water? Because I saw one of them drinking one of my bottles of water. I said, did you buy that? She says, no, it was in the refrigerator. I said, yeah, because it belongs to me. Please
Mm-hmm.
don't do that ever again.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have a problem sharing, but ask me.
Mm-hmm.
This is not forgiveness is better than permission. I'm not her. You ask for my permission.
Okay, so now that you have, you had that as like a stopgap. You had the co-living experience as a stopgap after your divorce. Now that you have co-lived, and you've had a variety of um, uh, co-living mates from age and professional levels, would you do it again? And what would you be looking for in this next experience if you were to do it again?
If I did it again, it would have to be outside of the United States.
Mm,
I can't see doing it here. Um, and I'm guarded after this experience,
okay.
very guarded, but and it would be a short term. It would be while I'm looking for something more permanent in
Mm-hmm.
another country, more stable. Um, it would have to be under those circumstances, pretty much like where I was here in this one. It was a
Mm-hmm.
pandemic. So this one, if I was living with, if I went into this, it would have to be somewhere outside of the United States, and I'm there temporarily while I'm looking for something else.
Why international versus domestic again?
Uh, because I know people are people, but um, I'm impatient and I'm very particular about certain things, um, especially cleanliness, especially the bathroom. That's a
Mm-hmm.
big pet peeve of mine. And mine, I'm trying to think, what's the worst thing that you would find in my bathroom? You'll probably find my bras hanging there because I wash them by hand and I hang them up. If I have guests, I don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
So, if I'm at somebody else's house, I would not do that. But I'm very particular about the bathroom.
Mm-hmm. And so you think there's a cultural difference?
I believe there will be because
Mm-hmm.
different cultures, people do different things.
Mm-hmm.
I would hope I could get to know those people, but when you're living abroad, I would think not. I've never lived abroad, but I
Mm-hmm.
have moved um, from LA to Canada, from LA to DC. Didn't know anybody, checked into a hotel. I think I got there on a Monday when I moved to DC. And I think I got a job by Wednesday.
Oh my.
Moved out of the hotel by, of course, I was younger then. I moved out of that hotel, I think, within 2 weeks.
Mm.
And I didn't know a soul there. So I got an apartment and I moved.
What took you to Canada? Oh, it's like falling.
Um, I wanted to experience life outside of the US.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was very young. I think I was in my 20s. And there was a picture, there was a globe, worldwide globe in the conference room. And I spun it, closed my eyes, put my finger on it, and it happened to be Canada,
Uh-oh.
Calgary. So
Oh,
I
wow. Okay.
was impulsive back then. I didn't know any better.
All
So I
right.
got on
Yeah.
a plane and I went there and I didn't have a work permit. or a visa or whatever they called it back then, but I got a job
All right.
with a law firm and was working, and I would come home. I think I lived there for 2 years. I came home once a month.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it averaged out to be. And even when I went to DC, I would come home once a month, and I was coming home to get my hair done
Oh, wow.
because in DC, I let this one girl, she was gonna cut my hair. I said, I'm sorry, hold on. Shouldn't we ask for permission first? I know what it looks like, but what if I don't want to do that?
Mm-hmm.
This is on my head and I'm paying the bill. I have the right to decide what I want to do. I don't want to cut my hair. I want to do this. She went ahead and she cut it. I said, well, I hope you know that I'm not going to pay you. She says, well, payment is expected when services are rendered. I says, the services that I did not ask for were rendered, therefore I will not be paying. You have
Mm.
a day, sweetie. And I got up and I walked out of there, grew my hair back, and then I started coming home once a
Mm-hmm.
month, and the guy would do my hair.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now, fast forward, what country would you consider moving to and, have a co-living life in?
I want to say Ghana, but I understand they do not like us over there.
Well, what, okay, why do you think that?
Well, several people have said it. They don't like African Americans.
Hmm.
Just because you had a negative experience doesn't mean that I'm going to have one. My
Mm-hmm.
only concern about going there is that if I go there, I'm not coming back here at all.
Hmm. Okay.
And at most, I will hire somebody to come in my apartment, in my store, pack up everything, put it in storage. I'll come back at some point and take a look, see what I want to keep,
Mm-hmm.
see what I don't want to keep. But I can't see if I get someplace like that and I like it, I can't see coming back here for anything.
Mm.
And that's my
Okay.
big fear is to go there, be happy, knowing that I can get a better quality life. I can own my own home and I can do a lot of things that I can't do here
Mm-hmm.
on the income that I have available.
Mm-hmm.
If I go there, I'm not coming back.
Have you done any research, in terms of transitioning your business, uh, or just, finding co-living mates, or, um, and if you were to move there, and you could project, what would be a timeline
What would be a timeline
to
to
get there, transition, um, find a place for your business, find a place for yourself.
realistically, I'd give myself a year.
Hmm. Okay. Wow. And do you know any Ghanaians that could guide you, or you'd be
Yeah.
starting out fresh? Okay.
Yes, I do. I do know several. I have several, a couple of them have offered me their places
Mm-hmm.
to live.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be it. Where,
Hmm.
I reach out to one of them saying, hey, I'm coming to Ghana, need a place to stay. Um, this is my budget. What do you have?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd
Okay.
probably go into that and um, probably be quite comfortable.
Yeah. All right. Well, you have given us the good, the bad, and the ugly of co-living. Oh God. And I think you certainly given some valuable information on, co-living being an option during a transitional period, of life. And you seem to have benefited from it, learned some lessons, about yourself, and just, living with others. Um, appreciate your transparency and willingness to share. What else would you like to tell us about, what's going on with you or your business, or, what do you have coming up in life?
Well, my business is I started off making these products, and now that I have this retail space, trying to keep it not necessarily to keep it open because it will stay open, but trying to drive more traffic to the store to increase sales. I've listed
Hmm.
my space on Peerspace. I'm getting bookings through that. I brought
Hmm.
in some other people that are similar to me looking for a space to sell their wares, giving them an opportunity to be in a brick and mortar.
Hmm.
And that's working out well for the most part. I do have some that find it difficult to comply with um, the rules of the space.
Hmm.
By that I mean, if you're going to book the space and say your products are in the store, or you're using the store for your events, put it on the Google Calendar so everyone knows that the space is being used. I do
Hmm.
have some that do not comply for some reason. They want to insist upon texting me the times and dates that they want to use the space, and I just always refer them back to the rules.
Okay.
So I will continue to do that. I see myself being in the space for another 2 years roughly. We're trying to drive traffic to the website so that when I
Hmm.
ultimately close the space down, um, I'm going to be traveling and
Hmm.
see where I want to permanently retire and call home.
Okay, wonderful. Well, you have to stay engaged in the Co-Living Life Facebook group because there are, plenty of folks who are traveling as well, scouting, finding locations, and sharing insight on opportunities around the globe. Uh, so I appreciate your time and look forward to hearing more about you exploring and getting some more insight on Ghana and the opportunities for you there. Again, thank you and look forward to hearing more.
Alrighty.